In this video, I'd like to talk about why downsizing is such an emotional issue and common fears about moving from your home and how you might know if it is time to downsize. To downsize or not to downsize, that's the big question, isn't it? And it's one that many of us face as we get older or as life shifts around us, nudging us into a new direction. Hi, I'm Susan, a solo living woman in my 60s on the cusp of retirement. And here on my channel, I like to share honest reflections, real life encouragement, and gentle advice for navigating this chapter of our life with peace, purpose, and positivity. From downsizing and apartment living to making a home for yourself that feels cozy, decluttered, and supports your peace of mind, I want to share what I've learned so far in hopes that it helps you feel encouraged in your journey. One of the very first videos that I posted explained why I sold the family home and moved to an apartment. Since then, I've posted other videos about apartment living, and quite often I get comments that say, I could never live in an apartment. And I completely understand, I really do. Apartment living isn't everyone's dream. But for many of us, there comes a time when we start asking ourselves some questions. Is this house still serving the life I'm living now? Do I really need this much space? And perhaps most importantly, what would it feel like to let go and start fresh? Also, for very many of us, life doesn't go the way that we had planned. Whether it's due to finances, health, the loss of a partner, the end of a marriage, or just the need for something simpler, more manageable, there are so many reasons why downsizing is difficult to consider. Let's talk about why it might be such an emotionally loaded topic. Our homes hold decades of memories, our stories, bringing home babies, kids growing up, holidays, milestones, everyday life. The thought of leaving that behind, it can feel like we're losing a part of our identity, a version of ourselves and our history. And oftentimes, most importantly, our family memories. Change is hard at any age, but as we get older, it can feel even more difficult. And we're already going through so many changes. Navigating retirement, shifts in our identity, perhaps the loss of partner or kids leaving the nest, these all bring uncertainty. The idea of voluntarily choosing another change can feel overwhelming. In my case, finances forced the decision. I didn't have the luxury of indecision, but I look back on that now as kind of a gift because it forced me to do what I really needed to do. Just the thought of downsizing is exhausting. The physical act of wading through decades of stuff, deciding what to keep, packing, selling a home, moving, the logistics and the details of it all, this is what I think is most overwhelming to most people. If we could snap our fingers and get past that part, I think it wouldn't be so tumultuous. I think I was very fortunate. My home was quite small by today's standards. There was only so much stuff it could hold. And while there wasn't a lot of visual clutter, every closet, cupboard, dresser, shelf, cabinet was stacked. But I did start getting rid of things a few years before I moved. It was a slow and steady process. Also, I had an added bonus. For 4 years, I had a part-time job, evenings and weekends, working in an administrative role at a real estate company. I believe it was destiny's gift to me for a few reasons. One, financially, it helped me out when I needed to make some extra money while I was trying to keep the house afloat. And two, it put me in an environment where I had to learn all the real estate terms and language and lingo. When I first started working there, I mentioned that it seemed like a different language, all of the terms that my brain wasn't used to hearing. Appraisals, equity, qualifications, MLS, legal conditions, contract of sale. Slowly, I got used to the language and I felt more confident in the real estate environment, which really helped because then I wasn't just a single woman trying to sell her home, forced to believe whatever anybody told me. This truly was a gift for me, and I understand that most people don't have that advantage, and I understand how overwhelming it can seem. There seems to be a subtle message in today's society that if you don't own a home, especially a detached one, that you failed somehow, that you didn't plan ahead, that you didn't save enough money, that somehow something must have gone horribly wrong in your life. And when you're a woman living alone, that judgment can feel even heavier. I used to feel the sting of that judgment, but then I really learned that I'm not living anyone else's life, and they're not living in my life. People can think and feel and believe what they want. I'm not going to feel like I have to explain my decisions anymore, and there is true freedom in feeling that way. One of the biggest hesitations is, where will the grandkids stay, and how will I host Thanksgiving? And those are valid questions. Moving to a smaller home means that you may have to get creative, and maybe that hosting will look different in the future. Sometimes we cling to these expectations or these excuses when in reality, we're ready to change up family plans and traditions. The trade-off in simplicity and freedom may be worth it. I had lived in our family home for over 20 years, longer than I had lived anywhere else in my life. It's where I raised my kids. It's where we made memories, celebrated milestones, and yes, also weathered a lot of pain and turmoil. My marriage ended in 2015, and the emotional strain and financial toll that maintaining that house on my own took, it was a lot. It wasn't just the mortgage, it was the property taxes, the surprise repairs, the endless upkeep. That house had been a blessing in so many ways, but eventually it did become a burden. By 2022, I knew it was time, and even though the decision was forced somewhat out of necessity, I feel it was a gift now. Downsizing isn't just about moving into a smaller space. It's about making room, emotionally and physically, for something new. Without the big bills and the debt, I had breathing room again. I could now say yes to little luxuries, travel, dinners out, saving for retirement, things that were out of reach before. Cleaning is now a breeze, and there are no unexpected repair bills that can pull the rug right out from under you. There's less stuff, fewer rooms, no grass to cut, no snow to shovel, no yard work. I now have time to do the things that I want to do without feeling overwhelmed about having to do the things that I need to do. And when it's time to go somewhere, I can just lock the door and walk away. There's no worrying about who's watching over the house, who's getting the mail, worrying about water and power. None of that. Lock the door and walk away. That's freedom I hadn't even considered. I think it's important not to wait until you're ill or in a crisis or dire circumstances to think about downsizing. I did it when I had energy and clarity and I could jump in with both feet. And I didn't have to worry about burdening my kids with the huge task of clearing out years of stuff. Have you heard of Swedish death cleaning? There's a series, I think it's on Netflix, and it's really interesting. The primary motivation is to reduce the work and the emotional toll for your loved ones after you pass. It involves carefully considering what you want to keep or give to others or dispose of with the goal of creating a lighter, more manageable living space. It can also lead to a greater sense of peace and focus on what truly matters in your life. Decluttering is therapeutic and can be a healing process, as long as you're not under the gun to do it in a strictly limited time frame. There's something deeply cleansing about releasing the things that no longer serve you. Downsizing gave me a new space, a new chapter, without all of the echoes of what used to be. It kind of felt like I hit a reset button, not on life, but on what life looks like now, moving forward. For me, it laid the foundation to start living more intentionally, more lightly, more peacefully. For many, there is no easy answer. Life is darn complicated, and it may not matter whether you stay or whether you go. What matters is that you're living the life that you want. There is no right decision, only your decision. But here are some good questions to ask. Am I spending more energy maintaining my space than enjoying it? Am I feeling isolated or stuck in an old routine that just doesn't fit me anymore? Is fear, not practicality, keeping me in this place? Would a smaller space support the kind of life that I want now? What would peace and contentment look like for you at this stage of life? Downsizing can be hard, emotional, scary, but it can also be freeing, empowering, and deeply healing. If you're facing this choice, be gentle with yourself and know that you are not alone. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether you've downsized or are thinking about it or are still on the fence. Thanks for spending this time with me. I'm so very glad that you did. And especially if you're still here watching this, could you do me a huge favor? Could you like, comment, or most importantly, subscribe to the channel? I'm trying so earnestly to get my videos to a larger audience, but the only thing that will get me there is engagement from my viewers. If my videos resonate with you and you enjoy them, could you please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel? I would appreciate it more than you could ever know. Until next time, take care of yourself, and wherever you may be, I hope you're living a life of peace and positivity.